Yes, I bring Parks and Recreation to order. Amy?
Thank you, Mr. Jackson. Good evening. The first item on the agenda is review of the Cuthbert Community Center survey results. I just briefly wanted to kind of go over those with you guys. We did get 135 responses. Each were unique, so you couldn't just keep answering over and over. Almost all, 97% had visited Azalea Park at least once. Just under half had attended an event at the old Cuthbert Community Center. And over 60% said that they favored a partially enclosed facility. When you look at those that checked fully enclosed, many of those mentioned having a covered patio or an outdoor element. So I think truly if you combine some of those, I think the vast majority favored a partially enclosed replacement building for that center. I sent you guys all the detailed responses. They're pretty lengthy. I wasn't going to go over those in detail. But I just did a few searches and the word event was mentioned 38 times. That was the most popular event. That's the use that they saw for that building. Meeting was mentioned 29 times, parties 18 times, kitchen 15 times. Weddings were up at the top, restroom, bathrooms 18. And then there were 4 mentions of parking, hearing people say that they needed adequate parking there as well. Given the information and the amount of responses that we did receive, I wanted to know if the committee was comfortable with us moving forward with putting out an RFQ. And then as part of that process, once we had a firm on board, then we could host an additional public input session.
I think we can do that, but maybe we need to talk about at least the general idea of where we're going. So,
Yeah, I would agree. Do we have any idea into pricing or what that RFQ would specifically be for? Is that design fees?
Yes, it would be to design, a building. I think the design of that building, exactly what would go into that building, all of that we would work with throughout that with whichever company we contracted with. I do think it would be helpful to have the company that's going to do the work for us on board before we have, or to help facilitate some of the public input.
yeah, no, I agree. Do I have a motion to move it to full council for discussion?
I'll second.
I can't, you have to make the.
Oh, yes, I'll make the motion to move that to council.
Second that. All in favor?
Aye.
The second item on the agenda is youth recreation tackle football. I just wanted to provide you guys a little history on the tackle football program at Gahagan. Approximately 4 years ago, the tackle football program, formerly Sertoma, they changed their name to the Somerville Youth Athletics Club. Over the past few years, they have seen their registration numbers dwindling. This is not an uncommon trend for that sport in recreation right now. Several coaches from the program did split off to create some of the local travel teams, such as Somerville Waves, Swamp Foxes, and others. Last year, they did not have the registration numbers to support an in-house recreation league. They've notified us that they do not intend to offer recreation tackle football at Gahagan this year. At this point, we're evaluating whether this would be a program that we would want to additionally offer for ages 9, 10, 11, 12. But just because of a long history with Sertoma and Somerville Youth Athletics Club, I felt it was important to share this information with you all. And I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have regarding that. Perfect.
Let me ask you something.
Yes.
The kids that you're considering now for the youth tackle football, what stage, right?
Well, we would only offer it for 9, 10, and 11, 12. Yes, sir.
Currently now, we've got some tackle football older.
We do not know. They can start playing tackle football once they enter middle school. So that's why we would not offer any ages older than that. And we offer flag for younger. And we would also offer flag for this age group as well. So parents would have a choice which program they wanted to participate in. Wonderful. And then the last item on the agenda is a beautification plan, presentation by Steve Doninger with Dream.
I don't have my glasses. I gotta see.
Thank you. I have a presentation will be up on the screen. I gave copies to council as well. Want to thank Councilwoman Johnson Wilson for inviting me here today. I'm going to be quick on this because I know time's precious, and really essentially what we're going to do is talk about a concept that we've been working on for a little over a year now with Dream, in concert with our community partners and some of the other stakeholders around Somerville. Just real quick, Dream has the 5 different tenements to it: development, relationships, entertainment, aesthetics, and marketing. This falls into our aesthetics section. The aesthetics beautification placemaking that we're looking at, the goal is essentially to look at some of the more meaningful things or landscaping around what we could be doing in Somerville. I want to stress right here, Somerville is a beautiful, beautiful community. Our parks, our streets, everybody does really great job at keeping everything clean. We do have a lot of great flowers. We have good landscaping. What we're looking here is how can we expand that to our community and make Flower Town. I always was be teasing, saying, hey, we're going to add flowers back into Flower Town and look for a much more robust flower landscape with some public art that enhance our look, to enhance our placemaking, build inspiration. So as one thing gets cleaned up, perhaps our neighbors and other folks start adding more and more flowers that we add to our environment. What can we do for butterfly gardens and for our tree canopy, and then public-private partnership opportunities that'll come out of this as well. So our goal here is really to make Somerville into Flower Town, envious of all. We started this process with the agreement that was put in place earlier or towards the end of last year with some enhanced opportunities and support from the town. We're instituting the Flower the Town initiative that started many, many years ago and kind of got washed away for different reasons. We started putting in hanging baskets. We actually have more coming in over the next week or so. We have larger parts coming in. We're going to start putting flowers into the downtown and working with our business owners and what have you. So you can start seeing that, we're really putting an emphasis into this. We have a well-planned group working on this. This is, again, with Dream and working in concert with our Parks Department to make sure that we're, using all our resources correctly and using the downtown in a big way. We're working with Jessie and her team as well on this. Some of the things that you'll see, they're a little bit different. We went in to research some self-watering pots. I know right now the pots look kind of bland and everything. I want to remind everything grows by the inch and dies by the foot. So we're working really hard to make sure that we have the best resources in there. So something that retains water, does some wicking. We do have a company that comes through, Heritage Landscape, has been given a contract from Dream to come through and maintain all the flowers. If they do die, they have to replace them. So you start seeing more and more these things happening. The large 3-gallon, 4-gallon, 5-gallon pots are not in yet, but those will get installed as those come in over the next few weeks. We also started looking at a bigger, broader thing. We wanted to start with big investment this year on starting adding flowers and getting back to some of the things that we were doing in the past. And then we start looking at, well, what's some of our cross sections or some of the areas that we can look at, and how can we help to reimagine some of the landscaping opportunities or some of the hardscaping opportunities that go into town. We specifically looked at Richardson and Central. I know we call it Short Central, but Central overall. And because on Main Street, we have Hutchinson Square. It's already fantastic and a lot of things happening there. And we know that the town is working on North Main Street. So that's why we selected these parts of town as primary starts. So with Central, we looked at the entire stretch. So you can go from Richardson all the way to the end of Short Central there. And not just the bricked area, which is the pedestrian area. We want to start capturing what might be, what can that look like? How can that feel? And how can we take advantage of some of the resources that are already in place? We want to put up, be mindful of all the different things, the pedestrian networks, the functionality and flexibility, the traffic flows, the zones, connections, the small business support and development and maintenance. If you haven't seen Little Shop of Horrors, the plant landed during a total eclipse of the sun. So there's a reason why there's that plant on this slide. But just to make point of reference on there is that we do want to make sure we're using the right plantings and that we're being conscientious that we're not going to start tearing down buildings, start opening up all kinds of different things. We're going to use what's there and what's appropriate. Some of the inspiration that we looked at when we started talking this through was flowers, or Flower Town. How can they look? How could, hanging baskets, walls, that type of thing. We also looked at our heritage and some of our culture and sweetgrass baskets and things that are important to us. And so you'll see in some of the modeling here that these are the things that stay true through the entire design. This is a concept that we looked at for the end of Short Central. You can see that it used to be the candy store on the end there. That's been relocated to Little Maine. If you haven't had a chance to get candy from our local shop, please do so. But when you're looking down Short Central, you can see that we've added in a placemaking spot there with, I would say like a stage. We're looking, I know that we have private business owners there, but conceptually, if they were to work with us and help put flower boxes along their or window boxes along their buildings, we'd have cascading flowers. We're taking the trees out of the sidewalks and putting more into appropriate planter boxes. You'll see a lot of the modeling of baskets and other things, and we clean up the area. But this is dream, and we like to look at option A and option B. This would be an option A. It'd be a great accents piece. But if we're going to do this, why not do the whole thing? So this would be an option B concept for us to consider. Well, we backed up some of the area. We have a much larger gathering space. We start putting flowers in on horticulture designs throughout the whole end of the area there. Again, cascading all the way through the middle of the street that's there. And I should mention, part of Short Central, we worked with Amy and her team a couple of years ago, and we're able to install the picnic tables. We do the umbrellas. There's Edison bulbs already in place. So there's a lot of good things to work off of. We're not reinventing the wheel here. This is what it would look like on the inside potentially, where you would have, maybe we should make it an entertainment area where there's a bubbler or a little fountain, a little water play area. You have some seating, you're sitting inside your basket, you're looking down. We've seen a lot of communities that are using umbrellas as art pieces. I think everybody and their mother went to Dollywood last year, and they all sent me pictures of Dollywood umbrellas that were hanging. But I've seen them in other places as well. It could be all kinds of different art pieces, just as an idea. You can see where the planter boxes are big and chunky. It's hard to see here, but they're designed to look like baskets. And so you're inside there, looking down there, down the entire Short Central, and just get a sense of place, get a sense of shopping. It's now become where it is a fantastic place now. It's just that calling card to it. On the inside there, just has two different looks where perhaps, again, maybe there's a chance for a water play feature or just a water area. And then during the day or at night, we turn off that water, and in Somerville, it dries up in about 30 seconds, especially in the summertime. And we could have it as a stage area or a place for additional performances. We're not looking for something that we did at Hutchinson Square, but more to what we've done with the Songwriters Festival that we did this past weekend, that we'll do during Sweet Tea Fest. We could have folks out there doing small venue entertainment as we're expanding in our entertainment area as well. Then on the other end of the block, we go ahead, we continue with that modeling with rooftop gardens or with window box gardens. Again, this is all very conceptual. There's been no agreements for property owners or what have you, but we feel very confident that in what we've shown to some of the property owners down there, that they've been well received. thus far, but we put our signage on the end there. We create a boulevard, we create a district, if you will, that's already there. We're just gonna label it and help those shops and those restaurants down there to be connected a little bit more. Again, that's a nice option. But if we want to look at the whole thing, let's look at it full throat and say, we already don't have parking there. Why don't we take advantage of some of the spots that the way it's designed now, bump that out? We have our basket motif still there. We have our planter boxes along the roadway there. And again, we're just enhancing, making it a little extra special than what is there currently. Looking at that, Bonnie, please don't look at this as an engineer. We're talking about potentially teasing her. She's been great conversations. Is we already have people crossing the street there in the middle. This is just a concept of perhaps maybe we should make that into a crosswalk. I know that those are some of the things that have to be looked at with who owns the streets and all the laws and regulations behind it. But we wanted to demonstrate that if we shrink that a bit, we put flowers on both ends or beds of flowers on both ends, that we compress that a bit. When we start looking at Richardson now, we continue this modeling up and down Richardson. This is just a logical place for that to go. Instead of just looking at West Richardson, we looked at the entire thing. Again, we're looking at all of downtown and looking at all the flyover. So East Richardson, West Richardson, all those things in conclusion. So again, not just Short Central, all of Central. Where you have Hutchinson Square, it's all of Hutchinson Square. So we want to look at the entire scope. This would be us looking into East Richardson. Now, we know there's a lot of challenges there. We know the trees and tree roots and all the other stuff. We acknowledge that. But in the concept, we want to lay together to say what might be possible, what can look and function well for the community. This shows us with a promenade in the middle with plants, kind of break up that intersection a little bit, start putting baskets around some of our tree out there up and down. Send it on East Richardson. We're recommending thoughts of putting additional trees in with some other the planter boxes, of course, the streetlights and other motifs to kind of model everything together into one cohesive look. Up and down the block, just as the concepts again, having basket in or box in some of our trees. We know that we have to work with those roots and make sure that we're not doing anything that would harm something. Again, first do no harm on these, but to provide a look or a feel that perhaps could work within there. You can see we have some seating areas that we put in. They're modeled again after the baskets and the basket look, just as a concept itself, that there's pervious soils that are put in, so we're feeding the roots and there's water coming in. Bike parking as we're expanding our bike pedestrian, becoming much more of a pedestrian friendly community with a lot of great leadership that's happened at the dais and with all the folks that work for the town. Something we encourage and want to see more of as well. So we make sure that we put placeholders in there for that. Some additional outdoor cafe seating. We're back on East Richardson here. Some of the bench modeling turned inwards. So perhaps we don't have such big chunky areas, but there's other options. We know with some of our friends that are doing cafe dining outside that people want to be outside, that they love to be out there. This is Somerville. And so to provide some of our shops and our restaurants opportunities to do stuff like that as well, just on a great model there. We say, keep it beautiful, keep it safe, keep it live, keep it fun, keep it Somerville. And so just looking at a beautification opportunity that lays before it, something there. Again, I want to thank you for the opportunity to make the presentation today. This is all, again, conceptual. We do have some folks that we're still modeling this with and still having conversations with about. But we feel very good if the town as our partner working on this, into the future, this will be a progressive opportunity for us to do different things.
Let me ask you something. Will the flowers be seasonal or year round or?
So the goal is that there's always going to be something growing, when it can. I mean, there'll be different looks, especially in what we call the off season in the winter time and all that. There may be other plants that are better, so they'll be replaced. But our goal is to constantly have flowers in Flower Town and using the appropriate flowers, working with the best horticulture folks out there to make sure that we're getting the best bang for our buck and that we're putting in the right looks at the right season.
Because right now we're getting azaleas and those hardy flowers that come up basically by themselves when the weather is warm.
Mhm.
So what would you do about flowers when the weather gets colder?
I could be honest with you, Councilman Brown, that the one thing I'm not is an expert in what type of flowers. I'm not a horticulturist. I wouldn't be able to give you a name of anything, but I will say that that's why I'm working with landscape groups and working with other experts to tell us what flowers bloom when and how can we rotate them, what's appropriate to be growing during what season. We'll absolutely have those. And I think there's times when it may look a little bit different, on those seasonality to it, but our goal is to constantly have colors and flowers and all that out there. And using the right techniques, the right planting techniques, but also bringing in, again, we're investing heavily in self-watering pots and with new different soil mixtures and, we're constantly, having somebody water and maintain that. I think that that's part of the goal. Everything looks good on opening day. So we just want to make sure it looks great year round.
And is it correct that I think you told me this would be a 3-stage or 4-stage process, something like that?
Yeah, we recognize that this is going to take quite a bit of partnerships in order to get this done. That the resources have to match up appropriately. To get something built is one thing, to keep it maintained is the other, and to grow upon that is obviously the third on there. I believe, looking at this reasonably, that we have a 3-phase component. I know that we've already talked to one group and have put out different grants. If council feels like we're going in the right direction, we'll work with staff and with all the appropriate reviews and committees that have to go through. We do have a group that's interested in, as I said, at the end of Short Central, we're calling it the Songwriters Alley or performance area. We have a group now that's interested in working with us to get that completed. So I think, yeah, it's easily a four-phase thing, depending on how resources come in.
And phase 1, what did you estimate that to be approximately? And what would be included in phase 1?
Sure. So we started working on this about a year ago, and we took great deal of effort and time and consideration and did some preliminary, numbers on it, very conservative aspect on it. So Short Central would be considered phase 1 in our opinion, unless staff or other folks feel like we need to look at something different, we will. It just seems to be, it was one of the areas with the least amount of disruption to businesses and with traffic patterns and all that, it would have been something easier to get accomplished. If we were to do the entire model that we put up here on the screen a little while ago, we have an anticipated expenditure of about $500,000 to have that entire street completed the way that it's designed in concept today.
I spoke with Leadership Dorchester this past week as well. Have you heard from them if they are
Yes.
considering?
Oh, yes.
They are still considering funding or volunteering, a portion.
They have Leadership Dorchester has a wonderful process where they have an RFP out there for different projects. And they came specifically asking for, that they would consider this as one of their projects. I think they have a ways to go before they make a final commitment, and be inappropriate for me to speak on that. And thank you for the time, and I'll entertain questions offline anytime we need.
All right, thank you, Steve.
Yes, thank you.
And do I hear a motion to adjourn?
I make a motion to adjourn.
A second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Got my glasses.
You want this here? Right, right.
We will start the Public Works Committee on water supply.
All right, thank
Alright.
you. The first item on the agenda is discussion of crosswalk safety. Had a lot of concerns about our crosswalks in town, so just wanted to bring that to y'all for discussion.
Okay, I think that you had asked for this to be put on the agenda, so what were your thoughts?
Yeah, so I'll start. If you drive around town, you'll notice a lot of the white markings are, and the crosswalks are faded, throughout town and county or DOT streets. I feel like that we really need to have our staff, go and at least paint those lines, in all of those areas to freshen that up. I think that's a maintenance thing. I don't necessarily think that that needs committee, but there are some other crosswalks that, that we haven't had lines at before or don't have crosswalks. Like, we do have crosswalks on Bear Island Road, but it doesn't appear there have been white painted lines at all. And that's a pretty busy area. I get a lot of emails about that specifically. Also, the buttons are not working sometimes on a couple of those. So I think that's something that we need to look at. And then, South Laurel Street, Central Avenue, there was an incident this week as well, but that was speeding. But there's constant issues in the crosswalks. I get quite a bit of complaints about that, probably because I'm District 2 councilwoman, but I get a lot of complaints about the crosswalks, sidewalks, things like that, because my district is very walkable. So it's been complaints for South Laurel Street, Bear Island Road, West Richardson, West Carolina, and Central Avenue have been the concern for crosswalks. And I think just starting for now, if we start with freshening all of the white lines and painting those to the DOT standards, the 8-inch crosswalk lines supplemented with the 24-inch ladder style or transverse lines is what we need in those areas.
Okay. Yes, the Bear Island crosswalks, we are aware that at least one of them, if not both of them, the button is not working. And so those have been ordered. They cost $8,000. And so,
And that's for the whole crosswalk, as I understand.
it's the assembly. Yes. The pole, the one that got knocked down by the truck that's close to town hall, that cost 11,000 because it included the pole and
Right.
all the contraption that goes along with it.
Yeah. So I think the 8-foot crosswalks is what I seen that cost 8,000. So hopefully we don't have to replace those quite yet, but
Right, the beacon, yeah, the crosswalks themselves, I talked with Mark, our streets department manager, and they have their pallets of the crosswalk material, the thermoplastic striping is $1,500. And they can do a handful of crosswalks for, depending on, the length and everything, but that'll cover a few crosswalks.
I'm
That's the
sorry,
cost.
so $1,500 that will cover,
He said
that's like
that,
a pa-
it said it's not done by the crosswalk, it's by the linear foot. And, the
but that would do
thickness
about
and
3 of them.
that's what it's, it's a handful, so
Mhm.
maybe more, depending how long it is.
What is our process now? I mean, people, I know they're out there driving and they're noticing different things.
Mhm.
Is there, when you see something that has to be done, what's the time limit? Until you like do a crosswalk, if they're fading or something.
Right, a lot of times we can get to it within that week
Uh-huh.
or two, if it's a town road. If it's a DOT road, it's their process, we contact DOT to get them to do maintenance on it, and sometimes, they get on it, and other times it takes a while.
And you're saying that it costs $1,500 to do approximately 3 of them. Do we have some of that already
We did.
that we can use? Okay,
Mhm,
so
we
it's
did.
not like we always have to go and order it.
Right, right. We do have that on hand.
Okay,
Mhm.
so like what we have on hand right now, how long would that last us? I mean, like how many jobs does it do?
I am not sure. I'll have to, get back
I'm
with you
asking
on
a lot
that
of
And I
questions,
think
sorry.
too, I don't, you're not sure that it's 3. It could be 5 or
Right,
10
it
or
could-
2, right?
Right,
I think
it could
depends on the
be,
Intersection, size of the
Correct,
intersection.
yeah.
yeah,
Just wanted to clear.
Width of the crosswalk and whatnot.
yeah.
I was just, I've been thinking about this thing since it came up on the agenda. It's seemed to be, crosswalks and walking have been kind of a hot topic since, February's council meeting. So, that we've been discussing and I, my thought was, why don't we work with our bike and ped committee? Let's have them present us with a list of
And
top 10.
And I
Cause
think
yeah,
they
They
have
have.
given us something
Yeah,
like that,
and
so
we got-
that's something,
we got 7 of us on council. If we all start picking crosswalks, we'll be
yeah,
7 different directions, of course, but,
right.
it's, and of course, we got staff in the middle of all that too, so, I think we can,
Yeah.
maybe we can get that list and 'cause I don't know that I've seen the list, and maybe I missed it.
I can get the one from last year.
Yeah,
I think every year
Maybe,
they come
let's
to
get,
council.
let's refresh the list, maybe,
Okay.
maybe we can even, I don't know, make a new ad hoc committee, but that, we could work with the bike and ped committee on developing this list. So
Well,
we got
don't we have
a unified,
a staff member that goes to that meeting?
Yes, our assistant town engineer
Okay,
goes to that
okay.
meeting, and they're held bi-monthly
right,
or every other month.
every month, yeah,
Um,
okay.
And while these crosswalks are in District 2, this is the heart of our town where all the residents in
Right.
all districts are using this area. And this is where most of the crosswalks are. This is the area people are
absolutely.
walking, biking. So it's not about, a specific district, but where the traffic is from the residents walking and biking mostly.
Right. No,
It's just for doing the work on the DOT roads. Is it something that y'all feel comfortable saying, yes, we want to go ahead and use our resources on their roads? Or do we want to get me to contact DOT and see how long it'll take them? Or how do we want to proceed with
I
that?
would think that we would want to contact them
Yeah,
for
yeah.
their roads to see if they could do it, to find out how long it
And
would
when it
take.
would, okay.
And then come back to us and let us know that information. And if it takes too long, I guess depending on the pricing, maybe it's something that we could do ourselves. I know that they're very busy. They've got a lot of things to do. But over this year, I would think that a lot of these we could get done. I
Right.
don't know, what do you guys?
No,
I mean.
The Bear
I mean, you
Island
guys are the
one and the
experts.
West Carolina that are our roads, we could go ahead and knock out.
And
quickly.
South Laurel is our road as well, right?
South Laurel, correct. So it just they're missing cross, I guess I could follow up. with
Yeah,
you on the
I think I
location.
submitted pictures. I mean, some of them are missing completely, some are faded. And now normally, would this not be handled as a maintenance item though, if they're faded?
It would through DOT in their maintenance office.
Okay,
Mhm.
just wanted to clarify that.
It's just gotta get reported to DOT. Is that where a holdup is on get some of these, the DOT has to
Correct.
know about it first kind of thing?
Yes.
Is that?
Yeah, because it's
where we're running to?
their road.
Right.
They're in charge of their road. I'm sure they won't mind,
Right.
if we
Of
want
course
to
not.
do it.
Yeah, but I guess what I'm thinking is if they don't know about it, then they
Right,
don't know
they
to
could have
maintain
a-
it, it's kind of situation that's,
Right.
if that's going, I was asking, is that what's happening now that DOT doesn't know that they have a problem to maintain the,
Possibly,
Yeah.
because they have a lot of roads that,
right?
they're
Yeah,
dealing with.
absolutely. More than any other state in the country, I believe. If I'm
Yeah,
not mistaken.
I contacted them about the crosswalk and stop signs at North Hickory and Doty. And this has been probably a month ago.
Right.
And they said, okay, yes, we'll do it. So I'm like, okay, when?
Mhm.
And it's like, okay, we're getting the part, we're ordering the stuff. So those will be updated soon.
That's good.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I just really wanted to bring this to notice to,
Okay.
to the staff and the public that we are looking at these crosswalk issues because it is a big concern that I probably get 3 emails a week at least on this topic. So I want the public to know we are looking at this issue and I don't guess we need a motion of any sort since this is a maintenance related item, right? For town roads?
So,
Okay.
right.
Okay.
Okay, the next item is the discussion of a no through street sign on South Laurel Street. This again relates to the amount of traffic that we've seen and people speeding. Residents along that street are having some difficulties, even with the reduced speed limit. There's just a lot of cut through traffic for folks even not going to the pickleball courts or the playgrounds.
This
And-
is the street where the playground is, right?
It is.
Okay,
Yeah.
and
Mhm.
a no through street, so people wouldn't go over to Carolina.
Cut through, right.
I see.
That was the request that I got.
Yeah,
And
I
we cut
spoke
back on
to the resident that submitted this. They didn't submit it to me. I guess they submitted it to staff, but they are having an issue when they back out their driveway, constant traffic. And I've been guilty of using it as a cut through myself, and it's going to make me think twice now about using it. I can understand their frustration.
Do we want to send this up to the rest of council?
I think so.
If it's gonna take any action, you need
Yeah,
to.
I think so. Do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion that we send this to council for review.
A second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to send it up to council. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay. All right, next.
It's the discussion of a current one-way section of T Farm Road at South Main Street. Yeah, this
This-
used to be two-way and several years ago it was made one-way because of that dangerous intersection. And I understand there's some folks that.
Yeah, I think this was my fault, this on the agenda, but, I've had about 4 people that live on the street right there within that half a block. To have all of them have called me pretty much to say that it's constantly people going the wrong way and they actually go to 17A and turn out still. So, I've looked at the area. I just, we need some options on what we can do to, whether it's better signage, the road's already painted there, you
Mhm.
know.
Maybe we can
yeah.
refresh those.
Well, and I rode by there yesterday. It's really not even worn, but it's, you know, the street's just so narrow that you don't even see the lines really because it's such a narrow section of white crossbars to tell you not that the road ends, but I don't know, maybe some additional signage there or if, you know, long-term fix, you know, and this is more of a bigger solution that, you know, Steve, he likes to go bigger. But you know, maybe a light intersection there or, you know, controlled intersection there with Marion Avenue that connects the 2 neighborhoods. Or, you know, the 2 sides of 17A or, and that maybe involve closing another access. I've got some mixed reviews from the neighbors I talked to over there. Of course, I live in a neighborhood, I don't use that entrance at all, but, some people don't want to see an entrance closed down. Some don't want to see, nobody wants to see that open back up, of course. But some people don't want to see it. I'd even toyed with the idea of closing, you know, why don't we just close that entrance all together? I had some mixed reviews on that too. So as far as some other options, that we can look at, but I just wanted to kind of put it on your mind, see if you could, expansion poles, maybe, what are those things, the poles that stick up in the ground when a lane ends? The delineation, yeah, that's it. Delineators, yeah, like the bollards that, you know, maybe we could put those up that would be simple solutions that might deter people. Google Maps still shows that as a 2-way street too. So a lot of people that ride Uber, they'll Uber in and go to Uber out and Uber takes them right back to the same.
Okay,
I
I
don't know.
saw that there
Yeah.
was a nice sign that was put
Yeah,
up on
there
the no
was.
outlet.
Yeah, yeah.
And I asked if our streets department put it up and they said no, so I
Yeah,
guess the folks
yeah.
there put it up,
the
but it
neighbors
said your
put that up.
GPS is wrong, turn
Right.
around.
Yeah.
I
that's
thought it
exactly
was
right.
cute.
So we only have just one sign there right now that says entrance only.
You have one that says no outlet up
Okay.
at the intersection.
Yeah,
with-
right
I
there,
forget which
East
intersection.
Johnson Street, yeah.
Yes, so that says no outlet, and then once you get closer, but it's pretty much right at 17A, it says do not enter,
Right,
and it's,
yeah.
you know,
So
on
what
either
it-
side of the road.
Could you maybe put another one of those do not enter or residents only or whatever a little bit further back?
Maybe at Johnston,
do that.
doing that instead of,
At Johnston.
yeah.
Because that would be the easiest thing right
Right,
now
right,
to,
to
yeah.
try to deter that, but you know, that intersection is horrible. See, it's really not that great coming in that way either, turning off of 17A onto T Farm Road.
Yeah,
It's-
'cause the
it's-
traffic
there's a
is
blind,
just-
that's a blind curve right there coming from southbound head north. I was in the emergency response business one time and I went to quite a few calls there, so of vehicle accidents. So it's not very friendly, so.
Yeah, and I don't think the right of way is very big
Mhm.
either, so even clearing around that curve,
Right.
there's not that much, we don't have that much
No, yeah,
room.
that's not pick up there. One of the neighbors actually suggested that too, but I was explaining that to him too, that we don't have a lot of right of way there either, so.
Mm.
It's just not a, easy solution to signs and have people pay attention to the roads and
Mm.
on the signage, but
Okay.
as so it goes. And maybe Chris might know the answer to this. Is it easy to fix Google Maps? How do you fix that? Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah. To where they could do that, that
Yeah.
might help too, so. Right, yeah. Yeah,
The only other thing that I was thinking of was put like 217A on some streets and direct them around another street, but
yeah,
then,
that's,
of
yeah.
course, you probably have residents on that street that
Uh,
doesn't want,
Well,
traffic
and I don't think
through.
anybody's against extra cars on their road to get,
Yes.
to avoid this from what I've been
Um,
told,
okay.
from the feedback I've gotten in conversations, but
okay,
one thing we gotta also remember is we don't want to have signs all over the neighborhood either, because it's,
Exactly, yeah.
now we're kind of taking away from the aesthetics of the neighborhood with a bunch of signage, and the ones that say do not enter are usually red and white and, yeah, pretty
Mhm.
big, and
right,
but yeah, so I don't know, that's kind of another thing. Trying to solve a problem without creating another one.
yeah.
Tell me how you do that.
That's fine. Mhm.
Anyway, that's all. I don't think it needs any I don't think we need council action or anything. I just wanted to have that on the agenda so we could talk about it, and see if you had any ideas or
Okay.
something we could do sooner rather than later if at all
Right.
possible.
Okay. Guess we can contact Google and
Yeah.
see if they can update their map
Try to get
and
on
then
the
we can
sign.
put the residential only or some kind of residences only, and maybe that might help deter
Right. I was talking about the sign.
traffic.
Yeah.
Another sign.
Going
or-
out that way. Yeah, I
Don't
think
just
maybe
hold
the do
off
not
on
enter,
that,
I
or-
think the do not enter signs might be a good idea to go and get those up. If
Okay.
we can. Yeah, just right there at Johnston Street heading.
Is Johnson over here?
Johnston is, let's see, that's a different map. This is
Oh,
map.
sorry.
So if I come down to Farm Road, Johnston would be right here.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And this is the last street you can turn left on to get out of the neighborhood. It's the way you're supposed to go to get
Yeah.
out of the neighborhood. So I think maybe we put those signs up there, it might help. And, if we get a lot of, if I start getting, people chasing me with that, maybe we'll have to back up a punt, but
Okay.
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 fair enough. Thank you, Bonnie.
All right. Thank you.
All right.
Okay. All right. The last item, discussion of proposed crosswalk on Boone Hill Road and Country Club Boulevard.
Yeah, so this is a DOT road and we don't have sidewalks on the town roads there at Pinecrest and Country Club. This is not my district, but it's been brought up to me quite a few times. And so I suggested we bring it to committee. Perhaps we can look at budget or sometime in the future on the sidewalk projects, maybe adding sidewalks either on Country Club or Pinecrest. So in the future, we can go to DOT and have them put a crosswalk right there. So mainly if we can look for that to be a future sidewalk project for Pinecrest or Country Club. It connects the kind of downtown historic or Somerville to the golf club over there in that community. And I know a lot of kids cross right there, some elderly, and it's a very busy road right there, So it'd be great if we can plan for
And
that in the
have
future.
crosswalks. Yeah, I see another project on the crosswalk list, the top 10 or the sidewalk list.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I wouldn't want to see that
Growing.
till we get something done for sure. That's we don't, I wouldn't want to encourage crossing there right now without,
Mhm.
with the.
But yeah, we
Right.
do need
Crosswalk is-
sidewalks
yeah,
on it if,
Yeah,
Yeah, there's-
there's zero sidewalks in Country Club
Mm.
and T Farm, so
okay.
there's a lot to do over there. If we were gonna get to sidewalk business over there, but
When we go to DOT and ask for consideration of a crosswalk, do they say that they have to do a study and
On
all
this
that?
particular road,
Yeah.
I doubt the request would get very far, honestly, just because, 17A is, you know, a major roadway. It's not a minor road. It might be an evacuation route.
Mm.
But you know, the traffic volumes on it, and it's not at an intersection. It's at a mid-block, which are very dangerous, especially if there's no median for, you know, folks to stop, and then they can look and see if, okay, now I can go with this traffic coming the opposite way. You know, they'd have to cross the whole entire roadway at one time with the traffic.
Which is 2 lane. So what is the solution for something like that? If you don't think DOT would ever approve that, even if there were sidewalks, what is the solution for
To
safety
get
of people
folks,
crossing?
they can cross at their own risk, you know, but having a crosswalk there, I mean, honestly.
And then if we were to go to them and ask, it, you know, if they wouldn't do it, but we would ask them what we would like to do it, do you think that they would okay it, if we were funding it?
Probably not.
Yeah.
Cause I'm just thinking if it's in their road and if there was an accident that happened there, they would have approved it. Even if we did the work, they would have given the approval.
So once somebody gets hurt there, then they'll approve it? Is that what you're saying?
No, if there's a crosswalk, no, I mean, they would not approve it even if we did the work.
Oh, I
Is
see
that,
what
is
you're
that the
saying.
question? Like if us doing the
Right,
work, would
yeah,
that?
and
look
I know
better?
that that's been the case in some of our neighborhoods,
Mhm.
but I was wondering with something like this, would it be the same or, I don't know.
I mean, I would think it would need to have, you know, a median or some point of,
Mhm.
you know, if it's, couldn't be signalized, you know, and be a standard intersection, but having just a which, you know, there is a road on either side, so I don't know if it'd be considered mid-block, but it's not like you're at Loudon where
no
it's
light.
a light.
Yeah.
Right, it's
Yeah.
people are going, you
Yeah.
know, they're not
Sort of
prepared to
like,
stop.
why we never had a sidewalk in the middle of Berlin Myers. And because you've got that one neighborhood that hooked up over where the skating place is, and I know that there was someone hit and killed there. And
Yes,
people, you know, had crossed there over and over and over.
yes, but then after
but
that,
there
then they got rid
wasn't.
of that crosswalk
Yeah,
because
right
it's
after that.
Yeah,
inviting
in
folks
fact,
to.
yeah,
Yeah,
we had a crosswalk. That's right. We put one in and then someone was still killed, because
Yeah,
Yeah,
people
that's,
don't
Mhm.
stop.
Yeah.
right. Even if the crosswalk's there, they're.
it doesn't, crosswalk doesn't guarantee safety.
Right. All right, well,
Okay.
people know I brought it to the attention.
Yes.
So I don't think any action then is needed on that.
Okay.
Is there any other questions?
Motion adjourned.
Got a motion? Do we
A
have
second?
A second? All in favor of adjournment?
Aye.
Oh.
All right, we have everybody. I'll call the Finance Committee meeting to order and turn it over to you, Miss Rhonda.
All right, good evening. It's nice to see a full house. You have before you, a summary page of the revenues and the expenses for the month of March. We collected just under $2 million in revenue for the month. Our year-to-date is right at 27.5. Our expenses for the month are 2.7 million and year-to-date of 35 million. We had our expenses exceeded our revenues, by roughly $860,000. And year-to-date, right at 8 million. We will be getting the majority of our business license income, which we can talk about later, in the next couple months. The transfers in are transfers from hospitality of, 291,000, year-to-date of 2.6. So net, for the month is 575,000 deficit and 5.3 million deficit for year-to-date. For revenues, our first section is property taxes. We collected 593,000 for year-to-date of 16.6. I've been kind of going through all the revenue items, getting prepared for budget, and we should meet those budget items for the year. License and permits, we collected 671,000 year-to-date, almost 5.2. Courts and fines, we collected 24,000 year-to-date, 219,000. State revenues, only state revenues that we received this month is 126,000 in the manufacturer's tax exemption for personal property. That is significantly more than we budgeted. And it looks like it was generated by one particular manufacturer in our area that we have a fee in lieu. I'm in the process of kind of investigating to make sure that is a recurring item so that I know how to budget properly and just to understand more of the details around that particular item. But I'll take those kind of surprises. I reorganized this a little bit. The next item is Parks and Rec revenues. As we've grown our Parks and Rec revenue sources, I felt like it was getting lost in all the miscellaneous revenue. And I had been wanting to kind of set this out, and Councilman Johnson Wilson had the same suggestion to me. So I went ahead and got that done for this one. So for the month, we collected 35,000, year to date, a little over 350,000 in Parks and Rec revenue. Miscellaneous revenue, we collected 458,000 and just under 2 million for a year to date. Again, the last item in there is transfers, which is the hospitality tax transfer that we discussed earlier. Any questions on any of those items before I move on?
I have a couple comments to make. Under revenues and miscellaneous revenues, and due to the amount that it is, can we further divide that into like the interest income or the sale of assets, since it is so much for transparency to the public?
You want a subtotal? Is that
No,
for?
under the revenue summary,
Oh.
whenever, yeah,
Okay.
that miscellaneous income, which we're well over budget at 75%, which is understandable because of what it is. But under miscellaneous revenues, you know, there's lots of revenue items. I think 11 is listed there. Can
Mhm.
we further define that interest income or the Dorchester 2 reimbursement just for transparency purposes in the future?
We can't, so you want it both on the front summary sheet and on the revenue detail?
I'm saying there's a lot of revenue in that miscellaneous revenues category.
Right.
Right. So there's some pretty big ticket items in there.
So,
Those items, I would think you could pull out to further define them
so
instead of just having them in miscellaneous revenues and going substantially, not estimating properly because
Okay.
we're at our budget. We're well over the budget. So we're not able to estimate properly with the amount of revenue that goes into miscellaneous revenue. So it's easier when there's transparency for the public viewing them.
yeah, I'm all for making sure the detail is there. On the second page of the revenue detail, I do have all that on a line by line, but you would prefer to have it on the summary
Well,
page as well.
It's just because we're at, if you notice, like those two items, we're at 208% of the budget when we're at 75% of the year and 118%.
Uh-huh.
So it'll allow for easier measuring. And not everyone's looking at these reports in detail online. They're not, the summary sheets are easier to read
Okay.
than the detailed reports. And then the other thought was under capital expenditures, I guess, in the future, if we can just consider for the budget, making sure that, I've talked about this, making sure we plan accordingly for our capital
Oh, yeah,
replacement plan and things like that.
yeah, absolutely.
And, you know, there's a lot of things where are way over budget or under budget. Since we're coming up to the budget retreat, I just ask staff to keep that in mind when they're looking at these categories as to what's needed. So we can get a really great estimate for the upcoming year and not be substantially over budget or under budget and be able to really plan accordingly.
Well noted. Anything else on those pages? I'm not trying to rush you.
Just on the impact fees, or I'm sorry, the hospitality and accommodations tax. Will we discuss at the budget retreat the potential expenses for those categories?
Yes, ma'am. We'll
Okay.
have a detailed line item budget for hospitality.
Okay. Thank you. And then I don't know if this is the proper time or not, but under the part of the impact fees report, can we have the staff explore what it would look like to, if we implemented an infrastructure impact fee for potential revenue and holding the developers accountable? Is that something that we can make a motion for now to have the staff look at what that would look like?
I don't know if that's totally my area. I think that we'd have to come up with, in some fashion, whether it's staff or council, look at some assumptions. Because obviously the pricing, I don't know if it was included in our study at one point in time, the transportation.
Yes, I believe that was looked into back in 2016, 2017, and council at that point in time made the decision not to implement those transportation impact fees.
So a price would have to be obtained based on the cost of certain infrastructure items. And then we'd have to make some assumptions on how many units that we may or may not have. I know the pipeline kind of goes up and down and depending on probably the economy and
Sure.
and some of that, but I think it's possible.
I think part of the issue is we'd have to redo a study to see at this point in time what that fee would be, what it would be, the rate would be at. And part of the reason why it was not approved back in 2016, I think, was because those fees can only be used on roads that are not already level D or F, the roads that are not already failing. And so it's really hard to find roads that aren't already failing, but, we can do work on in a timely fashion because those funds also have to be used within 3 years of accepting them, which is why both Dorchester County and Berkeley County ended up getting rid of their transportation impact fees and having to refund that money. And so that's why transportation impact fees can be very difficult to use effectively.
But they are being utilized a good bit all around. And it's been pretty clear that the public has said that they want to implement impact fees, I feel like. So again, is that something we discuss at finance or will we move that through to council?
And in my opinion, that would need to be discussed at the budget retreat, because if we are going to have to do another impact fee study analysis, there's going to have to be some funding set aside for that.
Okay, thank you.
In order to put that on the agenda, I'll second adding that discussion on our agenda for the budget retreat.
Thank you.
We'll get that added. I think we are on, so impact fees, talking about impact fees, great lead in, right? We have commercial and residential impact fees, and they're of course divided in Parks and Rec, Fire, and Municipal. We collected right at 64,000 in impact fees for the month. Year to date, just under 1,100,000. We didn't have any expenditures during the month for impact fees. Obviously, we've spent some money out of Parks and Rec year to date and in the municipal category. On net, year to date, revenues over expenses is 741,000. Any other questions about impact fees? Okay, hospitality. Hospitality collected for the month was 470,000. Year to date is 4.4. Our expenses are just under 500,000 for the month and 4.4 year to date. In March, we had a splash pad expenditure of just under 100,000, which elevated the typical monthly expenditure for that. Accommodations tax, we collected right at 30,000 and year to date is 303. We had a couple of expenditures that we had previously approved and paid out of accommodations tax, bringing our net to 145,000. Hospitality total is running a little under what we had projected at 6 million. However, April, May, and June are typically good months for hospitality. So I'm hoping that those will be a little bit higher. Any questions on that? Last report is for our stormwater. We collected a little more tax dollars during this month of 28,000 and our normal monthly expenditures of 194,000 for a net expenses over revenues, which is normal of 166. Year to date, our revenues have exceeded our expenditures by just under $1 million. I think with normal expense level, we should be really close to our budget target of a $374,000 excess. Any other comments, questions, suggestions?
Hey, thank you, Miss Rhonda.
Thank you.
I think that Flower Town Festival may have helped
Oh,
the H-Tax. 3 good days of weather. There was a lot of folks here, for sure.
All right. 5B, authorization to surplus a John Deere mower RM31, which was originally purchased in 2009. The request is from the Parks and Rec Department.
I'll make a motion. We approve that.
Second that, Mr. Mayor.
All right, motion and a second. Any discussion on item B? All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it.
Under financial requisitions, number 1, authorization to issue a purchase order to Blanchard Machinery Company in the amount of $219,604 to purchase a CAT 920 compact wheel loader. Funds to come from budgeted ARPA funds. This is on a state contract and the request is from the Streets Department.
I'll make the motion that we approve this.
Second.
All right, motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it.
Number 2, authorization to issue a purchase order to National Equipment Dealers of Somerville for a 2024 Hyundai HX 160 AL excavator for the Stormwater Department. The total purchase price is $185,139.64, which is cooperative pricing on the North Carolina Sheriff's Association contract. This purchase would be to replace WM92, which is a 1998 Deere 160 excavator, which will be reassigned to the street department to use as a backup to their machine for loading yard debris from Yancey Street. Funds to come from stormwater fund balance.
I move that we approve this, Mr. Mayor.
I'll second.
All right, motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it.
There we go. Number 3, authorization to issue a purchase order to Dick Smith Automotive in the amount of $70,092 for a F450 XL 4X2 crew cab. Funds to come from budgeted ARPA funds and the request is from the Streets Department.
I'll make a motion. We approve that.
Second.
All right, motion and a second. Any discussion?
I did speak to Mark about this today. He said they would be surplusing 1 or 2 vehicles for that purchase. He said that this will also allow them to carry 2 crews instead of just 1 with the current vehicle.
Thank you. Any other discussion, comments, questions? All right, hearing none. All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it.
I make a motion, we go into executive session
Second, Mr. Mayor.
to contract matters having to do with training.
Second.
All right, I have a motion to go into executive session for a contractual matter related to the agreement with Somerville Dream in a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? We're in executive session.
Too tall.